Today, we're talking about GTA 6 Delayed again as the most anticipated game ever starting to crack under the pressure. Plus, a Rockstar Co-Founder is talking about Red Dead Redemption 3, but should the series even continue? And Metroid Prime 4 got a new trailer and the internet's in love. But do we still think the game looks like shit? Stick around to find out all that and more. Welcome, friends, to Good Playing With You, your weekly gaming news roundup. I'm Dan Whitehill, and as always, I'm joined by my ghastly gang of Matts, Matt Lord.
Hey, how's it going?
And Matthew Moulding.
Hey now, ghastly? Is that what you called me?
yeah.
Halloween's over. I can't be ghastly after Halloween.
It's depending on what you've been eating. You've been pretty gassy lately.
Oh, gassy. Oh, that's more.
Yeah,
sense.
Definitely gassy. All that Halloween candy is hitting hard, let me tell you.
Before we hit the headlines this week, we're only about 155 subs away from our goal. So if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. All right, with that out of the way, gentlemen, let's jump into the headlines of the week. First up, GTA 6 is delayed again. Moulding, you have the story.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto 6 delayed again until November 2026. This was all over the news yesterday, but I'm taking this story from Zach Zwiesen at Kotaku. Rockstar announced on social media that the long-awaited next entry in its open-world blockbuster franchise would need a bit more time, delaying the game an additional 6 months from May to November 19th, 2026. Posted on social media, Rockstar says, quote, "We are sorry for adding additional time to what we realize has been a long wait, but these extra months will allow us to finish the game with a level of polish you have come to expect and deserve." This is the second delay GTA 6 has suffered in 2025. Back in May, the game was delayed from launching sometime in 2025 to May 26, 2026. It was originally announced in December of 2023, nearly 2 years ago. In August, Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick, great Bond villain name, the guy in charge of Rockstar's parent company, seemed confident that Grand Theft Auto 6 wouldn't be delayed again. When asked what his level of conviction was that GTA 6 would avoid another delay, Zelnick replied that his level of conviction was very, very high, obviously. So, boys, what do you think? Is this the final delay for GTA, or are we likely to bow down to our AI overlords before I get to play as hot, shirtless, hairy-chested Jason running around Vice City?
You know, I think they're going to be delaying this sucker one more time. I think we're going to be full circle. Oh, yeah. I think we're going back to, okay, this is the thing in the news as well. Rockstar's out here, union busting out here, and they want to grind this game. So they want to grind it out and they want to get some OT, but I don't know. I don't think their employees really want to do that. And I think that's spelling there's some trouble brewing behind the scenes in the Rockstar world. And I think this game's going to get delayed one more time before we see it hit the store shelves. Well, we'll see.
I don't know. I'm going to lean towards the more positive aspect and say, okay, it's definitely coming out November 2026. I think their back's against the wall. I think they know it. I think for sure it's going to come out this next year. And here's the reason why. They have both the online and they have the single cam plan. They really only need to nail one, which is a single player campaign. And I think that is what will launch in next November. I think you're right. There will be a delay, but it's going to be only on the online portion. And that could be 2027 or more. We'll see what happens with that one because it's such a cash cow for them. Unfortunately, I think they're going to put so many resources into that one. I just hope it doesn't launch feature bare. And I know, look, everyone's right. The correct response here is to be gracious and just say, take your time. We don't want a broken game. And that really is the right answer. But that's also not the answer I'm going to give 100% either. Because while I'd like to be the bigger person, I think there is some bullshit chicanery going on behind the scenes. And I'm not just talking about the union busting. What I'm talking about here is Moulding, you alluded to it when you talked about the game and you gave a recap. It was announced 3 years ago. I think Take-Two is riding this stock like a pony. The word that comes to mind here is manipulation. And it's not about the developers or anything like that. It's about this company teasing this game and then taking it away, teasing this game and taking it away. And we're watching their stock just tick up and up and up every time they do that. The last time they did this sort of thing, a trailer dropped. So are we going to get another trailer? Are we going to get some more good news? Hopefully. But the thing is here, there's no way you miss a game target by 1 full year without knowing that your initial date was bullshit. I think this company is pulling an end run around us, and I think they're blowing smoke up our ass when it comes to this sort of stuff so that they can only inflate their stock price and only make themselves look better. On top of that, one more point here that I think's totally suspect is if you look back, Grand Theft Auto 5 was released on the Xbox 360 September 17th, 2023. But then, lo and behold, GTA 5 was released on Xbox One November 18th, 2014. 1 year later. Now, if they delay this game to 2026, look, we're expecting new consoles in late 2027. That sure as hell lines up the exact same thing. They want to sell this game to us twice. They recently announced that GTA 5 hit 205 million copies sold. I think they're eyeing the playbook of GTA 5. They're looking to replicate the success that they have, and they want to sell us 2 copies. And I'm going to fall for it. But it sucks. And that's the real reason we're waiting is their financial gain and their numbers and the games they're playing.
I think that's a really interesting point that I didn't think about was the extra console, because I fell for it too. I bought it on the 360 and I bought it on the One, and thankfully I didn't buy the other, like you could spend another $10 or something and get the X, like the upgraded version of the One game, which I thankfully just opted against doing. Yeah, that's a really good point. I want to think the best of these companies, but obviously they are not doing it for us. They're doing it for them, whatever they do. Now, however, I'll say that there is a chance that they're doing this maybe to avoid crunch. Maybe the crunch was going to be really bad for these employees, and they're doing it to give them a little bit of leeway there. But if they're also union busting, they're not doing anything for their employees. So I don't know. I mean, none of us know, obviously. But what I do know is this morning, when this comes out, I'm going to check out that Take-Two stock, and I'm going to get myself in there again, because I bet that
Agreed.
stock is going to go down a bit, and I want to get in.
It's already dropped a huge amount in after hours trading.
So tomorrow morning when they hit, or this morning when they hit bottom, I want to get a little.
I might have to take
action.
a little peek, a little Robin Hood ad.
Yeah.
And one other point, I was really upset when I saw that Elder Scrolls 6, when they did their little teaser, and then we haven't heard anything from Bethesda on the game. I think we're almost at like 9 or 10 years from when they gave their little teaser at one of the presentations, maybe 8. But now I'm really thankful, because I don't want to be strung along on an Elder Scrolls game like I'm being strung along on Grand Theft Auto. So at this point, I'm just expecting the game to never come out. And when it comes out, it'll be a nice surprise, and I'll be happy when it's out. But I'm not going to be like, getting myself super excited to play a new game when they're just going to keep delaying it.
I agree, but I feel the opposite. And you know what happens? This is kind of reminding me of a Cyberpunk situation here. Cyberpunk teased that game and promised a revolution in gaming for over 3 years and kept giving us little pieces of information. And the hype train got out of control. And when these companies hype a game for too long, people's expectations only go up. And now with this delay, again, I'm expecting the most polished, bug-free experience.
Yeah.
I'm expecting there to be online almost right away. I'm expecting a PC version right away. I'm expecting the world, essentially, is what I'm saying. When they are taking this long, it just makes
I better not see any T-poses in that game when it comes out. I want to see crystal clear graphics. I don't want to see anyone going through walls. I want to see everything better be perfect on that game.
Agreed.
But at the same time, hashtag bring back crunch, because I feel like crunch is passion at the same time in the gaming industry. Tell me I'm wrong. Your crunch is
I think you're
passion.
wrong.
Crunch is passion in the
I
gaming
don't
industry.
want to have to work weekends in my job. I don't expect anybody else to.
I
No,
think
not at all.
I think there's something to be said about that. I think a lot of these really good games that have come out, I think there's crunch behind it. I think that's actually worthy of like a good
The
investigation.
views of Matt Lord do not reflect the views of Good Playing
No.
with you.
I mean,
Thank you.
I think that's like a completely valid point. I think there is something to be said about the crunch, and I think that's just like in my mind, how it whips up in my is like that is like a good, like you're there for creating games, and that's good in my opinion. Like you want to be there. I don't know. I mean, hey, I knew
You can email Matt Lord at mattlord@gmail.com.
No, absolutely. Like, tell me, like, find some games that are like notoriously crunched out, and then I bet you they have some decent reviews behind them as well.
I
And there
bet
could
you
be some
it's the
others.
opposite. Yeah, the opposite is true too.
I don't
I know
know.
them. Sure, people, they were
Maybe.
crunching hard on Cyberpunk 2077, and that thing was an unmitigated disaster.
That'd be good to know. Like, I need to dig in. What's the crunch looking like on that game exactly? There might not have been crunch happening. There's not documented crunch. I don't know what to say.
I'm not working for you ever.
No, yeah, I'm just so glad.
Yeah, no, it's like I'm looking to crunch. That's in the video game world.
No. I think crunch is a symbol of really bad scheduling, bad development, organization, all of that. I think it's an indication of that, and like priorities not aligned. I think, and unfortunate hiring. I think there's a lot of problems that go into that, and of the higher ups expecting a game to come out and not delaying it when they need to delay it. So in that way, I do think maybe that is why what Grand Theft Auto is trying to do is trying to avoid that. I hope.
Yeah, it's gnarly, especially when you're one of the people who actually is doing the coding and you're doing crunch just so the asshole boss that you have above you can hit that target launch date and make that bonus. So they're going to get rewarded and you're going to be burned out. So that sucks.
Yeah, but think of that passion.
Well, okay. Well, one game I'd like to see more passion on is Red Dead Redemption 3, if it ever comes out, because I, of course, am not a fan of Red Dead Redemption 2. And I think, Lord, you had a story about a sequel.
Yep. So Rockstar co-founder Dan Houser says Red Dead Redemption 3 will probably happen, and he'll feel a bit sad about it because it was a cohesive 2-game arc. This is from IGN's.
It was a shitty 2-game arc.
This is from IGN's Wesley Yinpool. 2018 epic western Red Dead Redemption 2 is considered a masterpiece. Dan?
I read that, and I was like, oh, Wesley, I have comments for you.
And one of the greatest video games of all time. Houser was lead writer on it. In an interview with Lex Friedman podcast, Houser has indicated that he'd have stronger feelings when Rockstar inevitably returns to Red Dead Redemption with a follow-up. And this is in quotes. I think probably it would be in some ways sadder if someone continued on Red Dead because it was a cohesive 2-game arc. That might be more sad to hear someone working on that. Is Red Dead Redemption 3 an inevitability? Houser seems to think the Red Dead Redemption series will continue, but it's worth noting that the series began with Red Dead Revolver in 2004.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a great game, by the way. I'm so glad that it was mentioned
never played that
here.
one.
So perhaps Rockstar will create a new sub-series if and when it decides the time is right for more Red Dead. So what do you think? Do you think we'll actually get a Red Dead Redemption 3? When do you think this could happen? What do you think? Who's gonna be the main character? What are your thoughts?
I think as soon as they're done crunching, their overlords are done whipping them and making them crunch on GTA 5, they're going to turn around and they're going to crunch on this as well.
Okay.
Because that studio doesn't know how to expand it, and they really are leaving money on the table because they aren't creating new IP. They're only going back and forth, and that's not a bad thing, as gamers seem to love these games. But that studio needs to learn how to, expand and create more content more efficiently. The fact that they couldn't even get DLC out the the door ever in like a 12-year span for GTA 5 and put all of their resources into GTA Online, that shows that Rockstar does not have enough resources. And I can also tell you they don't have enough resources when it comes to the player controls of Red Dead Redemption 2. So when they do go for that inevitable third one, which we all know eventually will happen, I think Houser just calling it first. He's just saying the obvious, especially because we know they made so much money off of that. I hope that they invest in some controls that are actually fun to play in that game. The fact that he's calling it a 2-story arc is just sour grapes. The fact that they never followed up with Marsden's son, and there's a whole story and a legacy that could be told there at the end of part 1 that should have been the story for part 2. I mean, the world's ripe for the picking. I think he's just saying what we all know, and I sure hope when it does come time, they really invest wisely, because they haven't quite yet, and the second one was a disaster.
So a couple things. I think Marston's son would be the protagonist for whatever the next one would be.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's the slam dunk third person. I think you're wrong, Dan, on GTA. I think that they started seeing how much money that they were making online, and that's why they didn't bother making any DLC. I bet they moved all their resources to online because it was just such a cash cow, and they were like, why do this if we're making money hand over fist for online? That's my guess for that one. And what about a Bully? What about a Bully sequel? I think that's what we'd like to see over, or that's what I'd like to see over a Red Dead Redemption, a third or a fourth, technically Red Dead Redemption. I'm not interested in playing another one of those. I'm done with it after Red Dead 2. I agree with Dan that it's just not a fun game. Gorgeous, beautiful, beautiful. One of the most beautiful games I think I've ever played, but one of the most boring games I've ever played too. So yeah, I'd say RIP RDR.
I wouldn't mind them going back, like they mentioned in Red Dead Revolver. It was much more of just like a shooting type of game, definitely just like an action. I mean, even if they did go back, and I know they will never do this, this is like a complete left field type of deal, but if they did go back and just reharness like what was going, like the arcadey style of Red Dead 1, and they just went back, they could get a whole new, like cast of characters. It doesn't even, I don't think it even needs to go back. No John Marston. It doesn't even need to be Red Dead Redemption. It could be like how they did a Revolver. It could be like Red Dead. I don't know what's a cool one, like rifle. Red Dead Rifle.
Red Dead. Red Dead. Yeah. Red Dead
like
to Rights. That's
Red Dead to Rights with the dog and the fight. No, I'm totally on board, consider like depending on what they do with it. I think it would be in their best interest to kind of just, I kind of agree that I think like that felt like a 2-arc game. Like they were very, in a way, they definitely were entwined in a way that like I didn't expect them to be honest, especially like how it kind of goes back in time. It does like the whole like Tarantino type of routine, which is really cool. But I don't know. I'm not sure. I think they just need to step away from that, go check out a whole new gang of ruffians in the West.
Agreed.
Maybe I'd like to see a Rockstar take on a space game, on a sci-fi game. Maybe like change
I'm
it up
100% down with that, Malding.
That would
a
be
good sci-fi.
Yeah, that would be an interesting take on sci-fi for sure, because one take that's not so good on sci-fi is Metroid Prime 4. We got a new trailer this week, and the internet is in love with it. Malding, tell us more.
Yeah, we need to talk about that Metroid Prime 4 trailer that was released this week. First of all, I want to start by saying that we love video games, or else we wouldn't be doing this podcast for tens of viewers and listeners weekly. I know that there's a lot of negativity in the industry, and I try to talk about games that I love, like Baldur's Gate 3, and I try to talk about those as much as the ones that disappoint me. But I think as commentators of video games, it's imperative that we be honest about our feelings when we see something as subpar as what we were presented with on Tuesday. So we try to set aside our biases, both good and bad, to give honest assessments. So for those listening to us in the car or walking the dog, let me describe a little bit about this latest look at Metroid Prime 4. So it opens up with Samus leaping onto the screen from her ship, possibly after a space battle. You're immediately met with some drab grays and browns that help her red and gold suit pop up against the alien environment. And I hope you like those colors because you're going to be seeing a lot of them. However, right after, we do get to see some lush greens, but don't blink because you're only going to get to see those colors once or twice during this trailer. So next we get some quick cuts, and I mean quick, of her standing and looking at a bright desert and this dark lightning covered landscape that we got to see in the last trailer. It kind of reminds me of the human farm that Neo wakes up to in the Matrix, but at least Neo got
100%.
flushed down that gooey tube so he didn't have to stay there, but it looks like we have to stay there in Metroid. Then she uses that new lash power to open a door lock. So I hope you're sitting down while you watch because the excitement of opening a door is pretty palpable. And then we get to see finally some enemies that we'll be shooting. It looks like there's a pack of white wolves that have found her in what is kind of obvious to me a scripted cutscene introduction. But guess what color that environment is? If you say dark and gray, you win because that's what it is. Dark gray and kind of white. We get some more cuts and a few other scripted enemy introductions, which is fine. They look like they could be kind of cool looking. And some of that lush green that we saw earlier pops in, but we don't spend much time there. But then finally we get to see Samus using her blaster. And I kind of fell asleep. Like the wolves and aliens we see run directly at her or kind of side to side. We don't see any cover or anyone shooting at her, just a few beasts kind of either standing still or running around. And just when you think you can't take any more excitement, you get a quick cut of her scanning an alien. So scanning is pretty much my favorite part of any action game. So I'm sure you're going to get to do a lot of scanning. And then for a couple of seconds, we get to see Samus fighting the boss that I actually got to fight in my time playing the game at the LA Switch 2 experience this year. And you heard that right. I've actually played a very small bit of this game already. So a lot of my complaining here is from hands-on experience with the game. I'm not just bitter. I'm bitter with experience. And the trailer ends with Samus riding the motorcycle that was kind of a surprise in the last trailer. And she rides it brilliantly in very straight lines. And then she does that Akira slide. There's a few more quick cuts of her looking at stuff. And then the trailer ends. So Metroid Prime 4 Beyond coming to the Switch and the Switch 2 December 4th. And I needed a cigarette after this, not because I feel satisfied, but because I want to get cancer after watching this trailer. So boys, what do you think? Did you get a chance to see the trailer? Am I being too hard on it? And what do you guys think?
Well, let's put aside the trailer. I'm more interested in Malding describing gooey tubes for a little while. And
I mean, honestly, I would rather be in that gooey tube than play in that environment that she was fighting in.
Gooey tube. And man, I gotta say, like, just off the bat though, this was a better trailer than the last one. I still think like I thought so. Like the last trailer to me was getting dogged on. That motorcycle in that barren landscape, like I think they had to release this trailer because they were freaking and they were getting grilled on the internet. Like that was the first. I thought there was a slight bit of like, this doesn't look so good. And then this one, I was like, okay. I mean, I still 100%. I'm like, this game needs so much work. This could be Nintendo's big flop-a-roni right here. But the enemies, like, why don't the enemies move in this game? Like,
I mean, they do. They move towards you and they move side to side.
Literally, just like, I just don't quite get how they decided to put those in the trailer. But yeah, not for me right now.
I gotta say, I think this game looks completely awful, and I have for such a long time. But what blows my mind here, and what I couldn't wrap my head around was, why does everyone think this trailer looks good? The internet went crazy for the trailer. They're like, oh, finally, there's a great trailer for Metroid. And I'm like, are you all fucking idiots? Because it's the same damn trailer that we've seen, and
Yeah,
they
that's
just cut it quicker. All it is, it's the same shit we've seen every single time. They just edit it really fast. And I'm like, oh, they're just all following for the quick editing, and they want to love it. Because then I was reminded, oh yes, this is the system that has maybe 2 games out for it and has sold 10 million systems, like Switch 2s. And I'm like, yeah, these are the suckers that are going to fucking fall for this shit. And when I say suckers, I include myself in there because I am a Switch 2 owner. And while I was stupid enough to fall for that console, which has no games, I will not, and this will be the third one, I will not be buying or be tricked by this third game because even I am totally desperate for content on this system and I want it to be good. I know a turd when I see a turd, and you can edit that turd as much as you want, but at the end of the day, it's still a turd, and that is what this is looking like. I'm sorry, and I love Metroid, but it is.
Yeah, I mean, as you can tell from my description of it, I am very soured on this, and I am biased. Like we're biased on the games that we love. I'm sure if Baldur's Gate 3 put out a trailer, and even if it was subpar, I'd be like, yeah, but look, it's more Baldur's Gate. Like I'm so excited, and I think that's what a lot of people are thinking. They've waited so long for another
Yeah.
Metroid game, so they're like, oh, I'm gonna be excited about this. But you gotta. I mean, I really want to implore people to look at this game from an objective point of view, and you just can't tell me that trailer looks good. You can't say that this is a current gen kind of looking game. You can't say that it looks I mean, maybe okay, this is subjective, but it does not look exciting to me at all. There is just I want people to take off those happiness glasses that they have,
Yeah.
and see it for what it really is. And maybe I see it for what it is because I'm just not such a huge Nintendo fanboy. I do think Tears of the Kingdom is one of the best games ever made. I absolutely adore that game, so I'm not completely biased against Nintendo. I love Pikmin. I think Pikmin, those games are super fun. Really love them. But I just want people to have an honest assessment of this. And it looks really, really poor.
And for some reason, players will grill you if you expect more out of Nintendo. I mean, I expected more than this than from a first
I
part.
agree.
You know, like this should be their mega hit, and it should be like a game that is clearly gonna be like it's a no-brainer. You're gonna buy it immediately. But this, no, I am like, well, I mean, don't have a Switch 2 quite yet, but it's like I'm still very much on the fence. And this thing just like I want Nintendo to step their game up. Like this is your next gen console. Like let's go. Come on.
We
Like
want good games. We want good looking games. We want fun games.
Yeah.
Yeah. We want games.
Yes.
Yeah.
And speaking of games on the Switch 2, Lord, I know that you had a story about Nintendo and their stance on the Switch 2.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. This is from Nintendo's second quarter financial results and corporate management policy briefing for fiscal year ending March 2026.
That
So
sounds like a
as
party.
It sounds like some late night reading is what it sounds
this
like.
really is. So since its launch in June, Nintendo Switch has seen strong sales with cumulative sell-in surpassing 10 million units, as Dan mentioned, worldwide as of September 30th. So this marks the highest global sales figure for any dedicated video game platform Nintendo in the first 4 months following its launch. So that is just like already that's like an insane milestone for the Switch 2. But then they go on, so like they have, of course, they're just gooning to their own success over their system. It's like a 60-page document. And then it goes on and it's like, here the Switch 2, it's the last bullet point, and it just says, going forward, we will shift our primary development focus to Nintendo Switch 2 and expand our business around this new platform. It's like, that was just like their last little bullet point. And it's like, okay, but haven't we, like, we've been in it for, we've had this system out for like 5 months. Like, was the idea not to be just like all in on this system immediately, or what is going on here? I just figured the Switch 2, to be honest, the Switch 2 I thought was going to be totally a different experience. I'm like, Nintendo is about to go so hard with this new system, and we just haven't even got it. And now they're just saying they're gonna like switch their focus over to the new platform. So what do you guys think? In my opinion, this kind of like boils my blood because it just doesn't seem like they're taking this system very seriously. And I would really like for them to. What do you guys think?
One of the things I'm very curious about is they're not highlighting the mouse action of the Switch 2 at all.
No.
That is how I actually played Metroid at that LA experience, was using that mouse thing, and it was really, really hard to use. It was not very fun. So I'm wondering if a little bit of them is like, hey, this wasn't quite as innovative as we expected it to be. So I'm interested that they don't highlight that a bunch. It doesn't really surprise me that they are putting that they're now saying we're putting a bunch of focus on the Switch 2, because they have to. I mean, what else? I don't know what else they would be doing. The Switch 2 needs games.
Right.
And I think this is what they need to do. So I'm not really disappointed. I'm actually pleased that they're saying, hey, we're gonna put the focus on there now. So
I just want to say, like, I guess in that case, like, I guess just like I would have loved a stronger launch to the system. Like, I would have loved to have been like,
absolutely,
oh, this is the system
10
that
games.
I need to get. Yeah,
10 games
but
at
instead
minimum.
Now, 5
for
months
a
later,
new
they're
system.
like, we have one game on it, and we're gonna focus on this thing now. And it's a weird one for me.
I agree. And I think where it's real bullshit for fans is they should have focused on Switch 2 from day one, because I sure as hell was as a consumer. And then look, if you want to double dip, make a version of your game that has a Switch 1 port. It should not be the other way around. I am sitting here waiting for Switch 2 games. But what am I getting? I'm getting updates to both Legend of Zeldas. I'm getting updates to Super Mario Party Jamboree. I'm getting an update to Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Pokemon Legends Z through A, Animal Crossing New Horizons. Instead of making a whole new Animal Crossing game, which they totally should, they're just making an update for this sort of thing and trying to nickel and dime.
Charging you for it.
Yeah, exactly. And charging us for it on this new system. So by buying this new system, I'm now getting a new system tax on these old games to get the complete version. Look, I already paid for those games and I don't want to pay for more. What I want are new games, and I don't want to fucking pay $80 for them. But at this point, it would be nice if they got decent games out on the system.
Yeah. And like, I guess in one other final note, it's like, okay, they're saying this now. Okay, 5 months. Like, does that mean in a year we can expect,
No, that means, it means like 2 or 3 years. You're right. It's going to be a long wait time.
Like now we're still very far away from where I think we're going to see this Switch 2 being, I guess it's prime, but by then it's like, I don't know, how dated is the Switch 2 going to be in like 3 years, like it's already going to be, I mean, we're going to have another gen of consoles by then, like whatever those may look like. But yeah, Switch 2 is.
And the worst part, the insult to injury here is our fellow gamers. By selling 10 million units within like 5 months of their launch, we are sending them the wrong signal that they can get away with making hand over fist, charging hand over fist, and not producing any software. We're sending the wrong message, people, and we need to slow down buying their crap.
Totally. Like, that's why I had to put that little 10 million units in there, because it's like, from that, it's like, okay, you sold the stuff. Like, it's almost like a rug. It feels like a rug pull. Like, we got duped.
It
on
totally
the system,
did.
Like,
too
bad.
What a bummer. Well, some good news, though, on software, games, and companies making some changes. I got a little rumor leak for you that we have to discuss. And this one is on PS5. It seems that they might be embracing cross-buy, which is interesting. So obviously, Xbox has been doing this for a long time, but now potentially PlayStation might as well. There was a rumor out this week because data miners found a new cross-buy icon hidden inside the PlayStation Store, hinting that Sony might be let us buy a game once and then play it on both PS5 and PC. It started with a leaker named Amethyst spotted the tag buried in the store's backend, and it literally shows the PS5 and PC symbols side by side. And then Deal Labs, who's this renowned leaker, confirmed that Sony actually added that icon months ago back in June. So this is something that's clearly been in the works for a while. There is no official word from Sony yet, but if true, this could be their answer to Xbox's Play Anywhere. And there's no launch date, no game list, just this leak for now, but it could be a huge win for players if it does happen, and it could signal that PlayStation's starting to embrace PC more now than ever. Maybe it's because Xbox is, trying to get all cozy with PC, especially with their next gen. Who knows? What do you guys think, though? Would a true PS5 to PC cross-buy change how you buy games, and do you think that's something that they would do?
Well, being the resident PC player here, I'm very curious to see how this looks. Will they have their own PlayStation launcher? Will it just be straight out of Steam? Will it be Epic? Like, who? I'm assuming it's going to be Steam, because Steam is just sort of the catch-all and
ubiquitous.
Just the front runner. Yeah. And if it is the case, if that is the thing, if that's how they go, I would totally adore that. I think that would be awesome to jump between PC and PlayStation. Granted, my PS5 is sitting right here and my PC is sitting down there, so it's like I don't fully see the total benefit for my needs, whether it's like if I'm buying it for, the PlayStation, it's like I'll probably just play the majority of the game on PlayStation. Like, I don't have a full reason to, unless maybe the Steam Deck, if the Steam Deck could be the option. So that could be really cool. And I think that's sort of like, if they are leaning it more into those handhelds, that's sort of like the PC handhelds, then that'd be great. But yeah, I would be interested in it. I think it's cool. Like, I love to see like these little expansions like this. It just means PC is just kind of just getting to eat real good with these types of things. So cool. It's a cool piece of news.
Well, friends of the pod know that I'm a huge proponent of more games for more people to play as where they want to play. I think that's a great thing for gamers. However, I do know that PlayStation has a little bit of trouble putting together really good ports of their games on PC. So they better make sure if they have a buy once you can play it on PC thing, that those are polished games that are not filled with bugs like we saw in Borderlands 4, like we've seen in other games in the past, where their PC ports are just not up to standard. So that would be my only problem. I'm not going to buy them on PC. I don't play games on PC, so it's not really a matter to me. But now that I'm canceling Game Pass, I'm going to be playing a lot more PlayStation games. So I'm looking forward to getting my hands on some of those.
Quick question though. Do you think this is going to go beyond first party games?
That's a good question. Yeah,
that is a great question.
Because I just immediately for some reason assumed it was going to be a first party only type of deal.
I assumed it was going to be all games that you bought on PlayStation. So yeah, I don't know.
And maybe that's why it's in there. It's like, okay, if Xbox is going to accept third party, buy anywhere sort of situation, then PC sure as hell better be able to expect the same thing that they are on PlayStation 5, that you get a cross buy as well. So maybe it's a third party thing that's making them do it, and they're not even considering first party, which would be interesting. I do wonder.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, I do wonder on PlayStation if they got to keep people on that console. So I don't know that a cross buy necessarily would help them. So your idea that it's third party and they're trying to get in, like Microsoft and look good with like Microsoft, could be spot on.
Yeah, that was my assumption.
And that's you brought up a good point. Like, isn't like so many people are already playing on the PlayStation. Like, I don't feel like they had to exactly do this. That's why it's kind of feels weird, because it's like, I think maybe Xbox, they're just kind of like, this is a great idea. But I think there was still so many people just freaking on their PlayStation, not giving a hoot and just gaming away. And it's interesting that they're just like, oh, well, we'll implement the PC. And I know they had a lot of their first party games go to it, but it seems like it was almost an unnecessary thing at this point. So who knows? Maybe it is just a third party's sort of setup for now.
Or maybe it was first party. Here's my theory
All
now.
right.
And it's like, okay, they launched Helldivers in February, and it's like, man, this is going great. We need to get an even bigger audience for only our multiplayer games. So we should start doing this cross-buy thing so that we can get more people on our multiplayer games and PC. The first one will be our next big multiplayer hit, Concord. And then when Concord hit the shitter, they were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And not only did they rethink the multiplayer games, they rethought cross-buy, and they were only planning to roll this out for multiplayer, and now they don't know what to do with it, so that icon is just sitting on their store since June.
And now they're thinking, hey, we got to do it for Marathon. We got to have it all prepped and ready for Marathon to go.
Yeah. No, I think that's actually such a good point, because listen to this. When you are playing, let's say like a multiplayer game or a single player game or whatever, you're on your PC and you're like, oh, I can see like my friends are playing on the PlayStation, but I don't want to like get up and start up the PlayStation. I can just fire it up on Steam and then play with them. And because I bought the game, like, and there's the crossplay. So I think the multiplayer, I think you're onto something with that one. That makes a lot of sense in terms of just like the ecosystem.
It's the most sense Dan has ever made.
Yeah, thank you for that. Well, talking about games and things that don't make sense, let's talk about Fortnite real quick. I am, of course, the resident Fortnite lover, and I'm crazy about it. But this latest move even has me pissed off. I think the last time we went in depth on Fortnite, I was talking about the different cosmetics and wondering how many branches of cosmetics can we endure. And I think, gentlemen, we might be at our breaking point, if only because of the way that they are implementing this new one. So Fortnite just dropped a new feature called Sidekicks, which are basically customizable pets that follow you around during matches. Now, some of you OG Fortnite players are like, wait a minute, like 3 years ago, I already got a pet and it was supposed to be exclusive. And I did have Bonesy, and I still do. They're gonna
That's a
upgrade
little
your
dog,
Bonesy.
right? The little dog in your backpack. Yeah.
But now they're gonna sell him. That's the thing. So they were taking what was mine. Yes. But it gets even worse. Not only are they selling the pets that I already earned years ago, which totally made me popular in every lobby I walked into. I felt like a badass because everyone wanted to pet my dog, and my Bonesy would always react. He's awesome. But now these customizable pets
give you a Bonesy?
Hey. No, what's cool about these customizable pets though is they are making them do more, and they do follow you around in the match, which is kind of adorable. But the community is kind of losing it over this because of the way it's being handled. You can only customize your sidekick one time when you buy it. And if you ever want to change how it looks later, a different color or like shirt or whatever you want, you actually have to buy a whole new one. On top of that, players can't even see it unless they're on your squad. So if I'm running around the world with Bonesy, like before, everyone could see my backpack. But now that they're upgrading to this sidekick thing, only my friends can see it who are on my team. No one else can see it, which is good because you don't want to be, hiding in the bushes and then have your little dog run out. But that would be kind of awesome if you could be sniped. Because so that would super suck. But the leaked prices are suggesting some of these pets could run up to 2,800 V-Bucks each. That's like 20 plus bucks for a glorified invisible banana dog, which, speaking of, like, when the Simpsons season that just started right now, they do give you Peely, a pet, and it's the same thing. The second so they haven't introduced all of the other stuff yet, but we all know it's coming. But with Peely, you have to lock in stuff as well, or it's a rebuy. So Fortnite players are now rallying online, begging others not to buy them and calling it, quote, the most blatant greed we've seen yet. Epic's apparently sending out surveys to players asking how mad they are about this new cosmetic update. So they're clearly aware of this. So before I weigh in, what do you guys think?
We've seen a lot of games do this. Elder Scrolls Online, you can have a pet with you that you have to pay real money for. I think there's some ways in game to get some pets too. But this whole thing about changing the color and having to buy the pet again, that is nuts. And people are going to do it. That's why Fortnite and Epic are doing this, is because they know people are going to do that. People are going to see that little dog on your back and be like, I got a Bonesy looking at him. I want my own Bonesy. And they're going to do it. And Epic is just going to rake in the cash. The responsibility is on the players to not fall for it. I completely agree with the quote unquote boycott that people are trying to do. It's a responsibility on the players.
Yeah, the whales need to be put into some sort of anti-buying hypnosis because this shit is out of control. Like, to be honest, like when you want to change the cosmetic and you pay money, that is like such a scummy. That is just like, that's like low level like greed.
Yeah.
It's not even like,
Yep.
That's just low level greed. And it's really bad look. I'm glad I didn't really know what it was fully about because I was on the Fortnite subreddit and they're like, do not buy the dog, don't buy the pet. I was like, what is that? Like, why? So I honestly hadn't known that it makes perfect sense. That is a perfectly good reason not to buy that. Because like, if let's say it does go off and sell a bunch, like they're going to come out with another situation that's even worse. Like, and this is already so bad. Like this is going to make that is like the downfall of, I think, games as a service, like blatant greed, and eventually players will see right through it. And I'm hoping it just kind of like enough blowback will hold their hand, like prevent them from doing something like this again.
Don't they have something where you can buy shoes? Isn't there a shoes cosmetic now that you have? Yeah.
They have so much stuff for the Lego Pass, so much stuff for the whole music stuff, like, and the cars. You have cars in there now. And yes, I agree. This is too far. This is a level of greed I have not seen. However, I have to say that with The Simpsons launching this past weekend, for the first time in a long time, I was put in a queue on Saturday trying to get into a match to play with my buddies, and I had to wait, 7 to 10 minutes just to get in the game. Now, The Simpsons map, yes, it is too small, but it is truly phenomenal. And so they did put out a press release saying, sorry, we had over 3.5 million players or whatever on the weekend or whatever, which isn't their highest. I think it's like their third highest. They've gone up to 7 million and stuff during big events. And their Superman event that we just had not too long ago was even bigger. But I think this was really unexpected for them to see how big it was because, the whole queue that we had to wade into. And that tells me that the level of interest here, this thing is going to get swept under the rug. They're going to get away with it. And it's unfortunate because when players speak up and they boycott or they do something, we see changes. Destiny 2 tried to do this exact same thing. When we all bought Destiny 2, we could change the color of our outfits all we wanted. And then, sure as shit, they released shaders and they locked colors and color schemes and we couldn't change things anymore and they wanted to charge for them. They still do charge for them. But they made them, when the community outreach and outcry was so much, they actually made shaders much easier to get. They made them rewards and that sort of stuff. So they responded. And I don't think that Epic has to here, and I don't think they will. And I think this locking the color thing, if we don't change it now, it is going to be symptomatic of all the sorts of emotes and cosmetics going forward. So that's a bummer. Well, ending it on a positive note. That wraps up everything we've got for this week. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe. And if you're listening on the podcast, please share with a friend. And on behalf of Matthew Moulding, Matt Lord, and myself, Dan Whitehill, thanks for joining us. And as always, good playing with you.
Good playing with you.
Good playing with you.